Cooper Flagg is going to be just fine, despite the fact that his scoring numbers and efficiency have been very underwhelming to begin his career. The tape, I think, is completely fine, and everyone knows about his context, and I kind of just wanted to get into Cooper's early season offense. He's obviously playing a lot of point guard, and I think his playmaking has been fully on display. He's playing within the guard here, Brandon Williams. Nice ghost screen to just get downhill. This is a great job reading the floor. You have two help defenders stepping up to Cooper. He sees Asar floating to the short corner, and Najee's like, pass there to Clay. Cooper reads it, he gets Clay, and obviously Toby ends up fouling him, but that's a wide open shot that Flagg ended up creating. And he's been creating wide open shots for his teammates pretty much all season already. He was an awesome lob passer at Duke and had a lot of experience playing with Malawash, of course. Flagg drives to his left, spins back to his right, and keeps his dribble while spinning. A lot of players will just pick the ball up here. Flagg keeps one more dribble so he can set off of 2 feet, lob into this space, and he's reading the play so quickly. Flagg has to make this decision kind of before he's even set and looking fully at the basket, and he's still able to do it. And if you're enjoying the content so far, let's get 150 likes on this Cooper Flagg video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll keep making rookie videos, NBA videos, draft videos, college basketball starting today when I'm recording this. So that is very exciting as well. Flagg was an amazing lob passer at Duke. It was one of his best things, and that is very quickly translated. And look, this Mavs roster is pretty terrible, when especially like he's playing offensive lineups as the point guard with Clay, Derek Lively spacing the wing, and BJ Washington. But yeah, Scotty Barnes caught in no man's land, and look at the leverage on Coop. He's being guarded by like 6'1", 6'2", Emmanuel Quickly, yet is still able to get lower than him. Scotty Barnes is caught in no man's land, and he tosses it up to Anthony Davis for the easy dunk. And yeah, Cooper, of course, has had his moments as a highlight player in transition, obviously with the lobs and with the passing, but man, if you give Cooper a head of steam, he is going to throw it down in the open floor over Sandro right there. But yeah, I think Cooper's playmaking has been as good as I thought it would be to begin the season. His scoring and his shooting and stuff like that we'll get into. Cooper's just really solid at reading help. He notices that McClung and Quinn Jackson are both going to commit to Naji Marshall cutting on the weak side, which of course is going to leave Caleb Martin wide open for the skip pass. Flagg reads it all in real time and creates a wide open three. So Flagg, there haven't been so many crazy tight window highlight passes, but he's clearly a good playmaker. And yeah, I think obviously good playmaker, I think, is underselling him. And his high feel and awareness and processing speed, gets downhill, drops it off to Gafford right there, who ends up, Duren makes a good play and swipes it away. But we've really seen all of the passing goodness early on. Whew, beautiful finish right there by Jalen Duren. And though he's playing a ton on the ball, we've seen a couple moments where his off-ball passing really shines. A short roll moment here with D'Lo where Asar and Cade are going to trap, and Flagg makes a great pass over to the corner. Najee doesn't end up making that shot, but Flagg passes the ball really well. So his playmaking is definitely great. I do think his passivity has been a bit concerning at times, where you'll see Cooper hesitate on a spot up, mess up with his footwork, travel. At the beginning of this Pistons game, it was definitely an issue, even though he settled it in. And going back to a play like this, I wish Cooper would look at the rim here, right? You can see he's staring down this pass to Gafford and ends up making it. There isn't a bunch of contested space right there. But I'd love to see him be more aggressive, look up at the rim, maybe take another dribble to get even closer, because, yeah, Cooper is an incredible playmaker. And we look at relative to position, 21% on ball rate, 10 potential assists, already rating in the 80th percentile as a rookie there. And if we see the efficiency and just where the issues have been, right? He's getting to the rim a ton. He just cannot finish there at all. That was an issue for him in college, and that's been magnified at the NBA level. And the shot making, of course, just has not been there. But he's drawing a bunch of fouls, which is really important, as we talked about. And I think his driving, when he's not driving scared and when he's playing confident and playing like he's the number one pick, has been good, even though those moments aren't always consistent. And we can see the moments where he is looking confident and where he's driving with the head of steam, blowing by Ben Shepherd, decelling off 2 feet, and just dunking right there in early offense. The athleticism and the pop are showing up in spades for Flagg. And I do think his handle in moments has held up almost as well or better than I thought. It's obviously been inconsistent, especially when he's playing point guard, but you have Cason Wallace, one of the best defenders in the league, closing out to him. He goes for Flagg, but he spins and keeps his dribble once again. I love how Flagg is resorting to his kind of trademark spin move, but instead of picking the ball right up after his spin, he's keeping the dribble alive, hopping off of 2 feet, being patient, and using his size to finish. Like, that's the good stuff, the basic, comfortable, controlled Cooper Flagg as a finisher and interior scorer that I think we're going to get. But you can see the benefits of having Cooper Flagg in a lineup with other guards, right? Like, D'Angelo forces Cade to guard him out there, so it's Duncan Robinson guarding Cooper Flagg, who I guess is technically the 2 in this lineup if Christie's playing the 3. I don't know. Really good job just spinning baseline, drawing a foul, and Duran getting to the line right there. So in terms of creating advantages and creating paint touches, I really don't have much issue with the way Flagg is played. Colin Murray-Boyles again. Oh my goodness, just watch this. Whoop, the up and under, man. Cooper, I do think Colin Murray-Boyles is an excellent defender. Defends him pretty well here, and I like him using his strength here, going for the kind of post-up, pump fake, and you can just see all the different ways that Cooper can create advantages and get to his shot. And obviously, when the shots are falling, that's great to see. This was another one of my favorite drives so far of the year for Cooper, where he initially gets cut off going to his right, goes behind the back to his left, and then notices that Sandro Mamakhalishvili is going to drop into this gap, and that the space is back this way. We've talked about great players always have a great sense for finding the space. Cooper spins, decelerates, and then finishes strong. Like, really, really impressive play. Again, Colin Murray-Boyles is a rookie, but I talked plenty on this channel about how highly I view his defense. But a lot of these plays where Cooper's creating, he's just smoking them. I think he's taking a lot of left-handed finishes when he doesn't really need to. I would probably like for Cooper to just try to go up strong with his right hand. I know Asar is there lurking, but he does a great job here spinning off Asar, playing against the aggressive leverage right there, getting to the basket, and then just smokes it. And that's been the story for Cooper through so much of this early season, is getting downhill, is beating defenders, and then rushing and kind of whiffing the finish, not sticking the landing, where Asar Thompson, one of the best defenders in the league. And of course, no point guard on the floor, right? No perimeter creation. Asar is guarding Cooper, right? Cooper gets the hardest assignment. He's going to do a decent job holding his handle, getting to the middle of the floor, keeping his handle through a dig right there. And then I'd love to see Cooper again. He has a slight advantage on Asar. Take one more dribble, hop off 2 feet. He does kind of step on 2 feet, but just takes a really difficult lefty scoop shot. Gafford ends up getting an offensive rebound. So you can see the value that paint touch creates like on its own, right? Duran has to slide over right there because Cooper got a free paint touch, and that creates a Gafford offensive rebound. But at the same time, you can pretty clearly see the finishing limitation. And I think Cooper's biggest athletic issue to me is probably his balance, where he obviously can get up, and this is an example of that. This is not an example of that, of course, where kind of hops off 2 feet. I love his ability to use jail with Shea right there. That's just a difficult shot. Like, he can make it, but I'd probably much rather see like on this play. I know I criticized him for being passive earlier. This is a play where the kickout's probably an option. Or again, just like trying a lefty contested floater over Isaiah Hartenstein. But again, when you're the only on-ball creator from the perimeter in a lineup, there isn't much choice for Flagg on a lot of these plays, which is, of course, I think a lot of out of his control, and that's just the way it's going to be for Flagg at the moment. But yeah, even on some of these misses, I think the process has been solid, where initially he uses his strength and his handle to drive Pascal Siakam back, a really excellent on-ball defender. Again, we see the leverage getting lower than Siakam, spinning, and if it wasn't for J. Huff helping, and I think Cooper right here needs to realize the help is stepping up and find Dwight Powell leaking to the basket, but Huff ends up blocking him from behind. So even on the quote-unquote bad plays for Flagg early in the season, I do think we're seeing plenty of good and plenty of stuff that has me feeling some promise. And Flagg, again, drawing fouls, holding up his handle fairly well through contact. Ron Holland, crazy physical defender, trying to rip his handle, steal him, but Flagg stops on a dime. Kind of goes in and out, gets his advantage, and then not like a perfect pass by any means right there. He sees Isaiah Stewart stepping up, but doesn't really read the second level help defender going to close off that gap right there, but doesn't get punished because Ron ends up fouling because Cooper was able to hold his handle. And the other thing for Cooper is his jumpers are just not falling. We saw a couple moments in this Pistons game where he was taking some under pull-up threes. The Pistons are just trying to switch this action. They want to keep Asar right here because The Pistons obviously don't want Duncan Robinson switched on to Cooper Flagg right there, but that leaves some miscommunication, and Cooper punishes it with the pull-up triple. But the shots have really just not been falling for Cooper at this stage in his career. And if we look at the NBA's new expected field goal percentage data, which is using their player tracking data to just guess kind of how I guess quote unquote lucky or unlucky a shooter is, and we see like Ryan Kalkbrenner, AJ Green, Simone Fontecchio, a lot of these guys, Terrence Mann, just like hitting crazy shots over expected, and then you have Flagg literally dead last. And part of this is because he's a rookie, right, and he's not that great of a shooter. But remember, he started slow at Duke. We looked at it. He would be expected to shoot around 34% on threes. He's actually shooting 28.6%. And then on twos, he's expected to shoot around 43%. And he is not nearly that high on twos. We look, he's up at 40%. And some of the twos, I think, is with his struggles as a finisher. But this does underscore some of the reasons why I'm not particularly concerned about Flagg. And he's been able to separate for his mid-range pull-up jumpers that he really likes, and some of them have been able to fall. But he's been most efficient from the long mid-range in these kind of short volume, and the short middies aren't falling. But he's able to easily elevate over defenders and get these shots off. So I think in the long term, like I said, not particularly worried about Cooper as a shooter, but that's definitely hindering the game. That's definitely hindering how he's playing right now, right? When you can put a big on Cooper like Isaiah Hartenstein, obviously this is like cross-match and early offense, so that isn't necessarily the plan here, but Hartenstein doesn't have to like sell out super hard to close out and hug up on Flagg. Flagg is willing to shoot these, which I like, and I think in the long term, like we said, that will help him out. But at the moment, you can see Chet Holmgren guarding Cooper just ducks under Anthony Davis. I like him taking the three. I think he needs to be attempting these until they go in, because that's kind of important for his ceiling as an on-ball player. And Cooper, I think, is just like a great off-ball player too that just hasn't been able to find some of these shots falling. Another situation we haven't seen a ton, Cooper in an advantage spot. The Raptors like freelance double PJ Washington. Flagg gets the ball in the middle of the floor. Great fake pass to move Scotty Barnes. And then he just takes a pretty wide open pull-up jumper in the middle of the floor that, again, in the long term, I trust Cooper Flagg to make. Defensively, though, he's definitely having his rookie struggles where I think his awareness and just kind of understanding of like rotations and timing, this is a thing for most rookies, especially ones with as heavy loads as Cooper. He needs to be the low man here, sinking down on Jalen Duren. I know Duncan's in the corner, but it is Max Christie's job then to go X out and close out to Duncan if Tobias makes that pass or if the ball swings. But Cooper does not rotate, and Duren gets a wide open dunk. And then a little bit earlier, I think this might have been a possession or two earlier, watch PJ Washington here. Actually, no, not PJ Washington. Sorry, watch Dwight Powell here pushing Cooper Flagg out to the corner. Like, this might be a wide open three regardless of what Cooper does, but once Cooper sees that PJ Washington is in this gap and he's not really doing anything, just lingering on Duren, he needs to get back to the corner. That's his assignment. And Dwight's like, go, get out to the corner, and he doesn't get punished right there. But we can see the kind of rookie errors as an off-ball defender. And his point of attack stuff, especially against point guards, right, when he's defending point guard in these smaller lineups, he's not a guy who's, as technically sound as he needs to guard point guards. Like, he has the physical tools to probably do it eventually. Like, he's definitely quick enough laterally, but his feet leave the ground. He's going to jump this way, biting it quickly. Fake right there, and that's an easy blow by, and Lively ends up, I think, probably goaltending. I don't know. He saves the play, but point being, Cooper ended up getting beat off the dribble pretty badly right there. But obviously, he has the explosiveness to get up and recover. So, like, long term, like I keep saying, I don't think these are issues with Flagg, but also magnified by the positional issues. Look at him guarding as a screen chaser right here, though. He flies around this Holland screen, blows up Duncan Robinson's spot, and forces him into a really contested three instead of a wide open one coming off of movement. So even though there's been plenty of issues with Flagg's defense at this point, like, he still is trying to make plays. He's going to jump earlier than he should right there, but most of these to me are rookie mistakes. And again, the point guard thing is important. Looking at Cleaning the Glass's numbers, he's played point guard for 39% of his minutes, and that's been his highest usage role, almost 20%. Easily lowest efficiency, almost 70 points per shot compared to 120 for his shooting guard and small forward role. And then his turnovers are way up at point guard, obviously. Huge 16% turnover rate at point guard compared to 9% in his 52% at the 2 and 0% at the 3. this is definitely hurting the Mavs right now. Like, you can see the offensive effect, and it's such small sample numbers, 195 minutes. I put basically zero stock into this, but it does match up with the tape, right? Where the team seems better when Flagg is not a point guard. And this is definitely like not helping the Mavs win today, but also, who gives a shit? Like, the Mavs screwed themselves last year at the trade deadline, and they're not going to be a good team this year. They're not going to be a playoff contender who's really making noise to make a deep run in the West. So why not get your young number 1 pick who played a lot of lead guard at Duke? People are like, oh, this is totally alien for Cooper Flagg, when this level of usage is definitely alien for him at the NBA level with no offensive help around him. The context and situation is definitely new. Flagg is used to being in a great context, and now he's in a very suboptimal one. But I think this is totally fine for him in the long term. At his ceiling, I think Cooper's going to be a guy who's creating heavy usage on ball, and he's already showing that he has component parts of that as an overtaxed point guard. Underqualified at the moment, probably overtaxed. He is an incredibly good passer already. He's so good at getting paint touches, and his driving and foul drawing numbers reflect that, even if the finishing isn't great. And so much of the finishing stuff, while I think the main, like I said, physical attribute, improving his balance, probably core strength, so he doesn't slip around and he can hold his position off 2 feet, but like, he has the explosiveness and movement skills and plasticity and flexibility to get there on both ends. So I'm really not worried about Cooper Flagg, and if you were really worried about Cooper Flagg before this video, and if you're feeling less worried about it, let me know in the comment section, or if you disagree with me and you're still worried, let me know. I would, again, warn you against the small sample efficiency stuff, and trust your eyes, trust what you see with the tape, and I'm going to do that with Cooper Flagg.